The great hall of Velthara Prime stretched out like a crystal cave. Light came from everywhere and nowhere, making the walls glow blue and green. 12 different kinds of alien beings sat in a perfect circle. Each one looked different from the others. Some had wings, some had tentacles, and some looked like walking rocks. Commander Vex Thorax stood in the center of the circle. His thick armor plates caught the light and threw it back in sharp flashes. The Krexari warrior was 8 feet tall and built like a tank. His yellow eyes swept across the other aliens as he spoke. "The Zilani world is now under our control," Vex said. His voice was deep and rough like grinding stone. "They tried to fight us with their weak weapons. It took only 3 days. The other aliens nodded, or made sounds that meant they agreed. The Etherians, who looked like living crystals, sang soft notes of fear. The Nebulites floating in their glass tanks filled with purple gas bubbled quietly. The fish-like Merhai in their water suits clicked their approval. Vex walked around the circle as he talked. Each step made a heavy sound on the floor. The Zilani thought their cities could protect them. They built walls of metal and stone. We broke through them like they were made of paper. War Chief Zarek Bloodfang sat in the biggest chair. He was even larger than Vex, with scars covering his dark green scales. His name came from the rows of sharp teeth that filled his mouth. When he smiled, other aliens looked away. "Tell them about their weapons," Zarek said. Vex laughed. It sounded like rocks falling down a mountain. "They shot us with energy beams. The beams bounced off our skin. They threw bombs at us. We walked through the fire and smoke. They tried to poison the air. We breathed it in and felt nothing." A small alien with blue fur raised a thin arm. This was Speaker Nim of the Velhari. Her people were known for being smart, not strong. "How many Krexari did you lose in this battle?" "None," Vex said. "Not one of our warriors died. A few got scratched. They laughed about it." The aliens in the circle made worried sounds. They all knew the truth. The Krexari came from Krexus, a world that tried to kill everything that lived on it. The ground shook every day from earthquakes. The air burned the lungs of most aliens. The seas were full of acid. Monsters with teeth like swords hunted in packs. Only the Krexari could live on such a world. This made them the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Every alien knew this. Every alien feared them. Dr. Lena Morrison sat in a small chair behind the main circle. She was human, but nobody paid much attention to her. Her people were new to the galaxy. They had only made contact 6 months ago. She had brown hair tied back in a simple way and wore plain clothes. She wrote notes in a small book while she watched the meeting. Zarek stood up from his chair. His shadow fell across half the circle. "This is why we lead the Galactic Council. We are the only true warriors. The only ones who come from a death world. The only ones strong enough to keep order in the galaxy." The other aliens agreed quickly. They had no choice. The Krexari could destroy any of their worlds if they wanted to. Everyone knew this. Everyone accepted this. "The soft species need us," Zarek continued. "They live on easy worlds with gentle, rain and safe animals. They would die in minutes on a real world. A dangerous world. A world like ours." Lena looked up from her notes. She seemed confused by something. She raised her hand like a student in a classroom. Zarek noticed her. "What does the human want?" "I have a question," Lena said. Her voice was calm and friendly. "When you say death world, what do you mean exactly?" Some of the aliens laughed. Not mean laughs, but surprised ones. The question seemed too simple to ask. Vex walked over to where Lena sat. "A death world is a planet that tries to kill you every day. Bad air, dangerous animals, ground that shakes, weather that can destroy cities. Most aliens die on such worlds in ours." "Oh," Lena said. She wrote something in her book. "That makes sense. Your people come from an easy world," Zarek said. It was not a question. "All soft species do. Green grass, blue skies, small animals that run away when they see you." Lena nodded slowly. "We do have grass, and blue skies most of the time." She paused. "Though the skies turn black when the big storms come, and green when the tornadoes show up." Speaker Nim leaned forward. Tornadoes? Spinning windstorms. They can be a mile wide. They pick up houses and throw them around like toys. Lena said this the same way someone might talk about the weather. We have about 1,000 of them every year. The aliens looked at each other. 1,000 storms that could pick up houses seemed like a lot. But those are not dangerous to your people? Vex asked. Well, they can be if you get caught in one. We just go into our basements and wait for them to pass. Sometimes they sound like freight trains. That's how we know they're close. Zarek frowned. His people considered themselves the masters of surviving bad weather. What other storms do you have? Hurricanes, those are the really big ones. They can cover half a continent. The winds can reach 200 miles per hour. They push walls of water onto the land. We call those storm surges. Lena kept writing while she talked. Then there are blizzards. Those bury whole cities in snow, and ice storms that freeze everything solid. The circle of aliens grew quiet. 200-mile-per-hour winds sounded extreme even to them. But your people hide from these storms? Vex asked. Usually, though some people chase the tornadoes in trucks. They think it's fun to get close and take pictures. Lena smiled when she said this. Scientists do it to study them. Other people do it because they like the excitement. War Chief Zarek sat back down in his chair. Chasing deadly storms for fun was not something his people did. They survived their world's dangers, but they did not seek them out for entertainment. The meeting continued, but now some of the aliens kept looking at the human woman in the corner. She seemed so normal, so calm. But she had just described a world where thousands of house-destroying storms happened every year, and some people chased them for fun. Lena Morrison kept writing in her book, completely unaware that she had just planted the first seed of doubt in the galaxy's understanding of what made a true Deathworld warrior. 3 days later, the Galactic Council met again. This time they were there to talk about the humans. The new species wanted to join the council as full members. Every species had to go through the same process. They had to prove they could survive in the galaxy and help keep peace. Ambassador Jake Sullivan walked into the Great Hall with 5 other humans. He was tall and had gray hair. His smile seemed real, not forced like the smiles politicians usually wore. Behind him walked Captain Lisa Hayes, Dr. Ben Carter, and 3 other humans whose jobs were to help with the meeting. Jake stopped in the center of the circle and looked around at all the different aliens. Thank you for meeting with us today. We're excited to learn more about the Galactic Council and how we might help. War Chief Zarek leaned forward in his chair. His yellow eyes studied the humans like a hunter watching prey. Your species wishes to join our council. This requires evaluation. We must determine what kind of world produced you. Of course, Jake said. We understand completely. What would you like to know? Vex Thorax stood up and walked over to a large screen that appeared in the air. We classify worlds based on how dangerous they are. Paradise worlds have no threats. Garden worlds have small threats. Challenge worlds have real dangers. Death worlds can kill you just by being there. The screen showed pictures of different planets. Paradise worlds looked like perfect vacation spots with calm blue oceans and gentle hills. Garden worlds had some storms and wild animals, but nothing too scary. Challenge worlds had active volcanoes and big predators. Death worlds looked like nightmares made real. Most species come from paradise or garden worlds, Vex continued. A few come from challenge worlds. Only the Krexari come from a true death world. This makes us the natural leaders and warriors of the galaxy. Captain Lisa Hayes stepped forward. She had short black hair and wore a simple blue uniform. That's a good system. Very organized. Where would you like us to start with Earth's information? Basic planetary data first, said Speaker Nim. The small blue alien held up a device that started recording everything. Lisa pulled out a small tablet and began reading from it. Earth has a diameter of about 8,000 miles. Gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared. Atmosphere is 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, with trace amounts of other gases. She said all this in a normal tone of voice, like she was reading a grocery list. Zarek's eyes narrowed. Your gravity reading seems high. Is it? Lisa looked at her tablet again. I guess it might be. We're used to it, so it feels normal to us. Dr. Ben Carter stepped forward. He was younger than the others and kept pushing his glasses up his nose. If it helps, I brought detailed information about Earth's ecosystem and wildlife. Show us your apex predators, Vex demanded. Every world has them, the strongest, most dangerous animals that live there. Ben smiled and touched his tablet. The screen above them changed to show a massive shark swimming through dark water. This is a great white shark. They can grow up to 20 feet long. Their bite force is about 4,000 pounds per square inch. They're perfect hunting machines. Several aliens made worried sounds. A 20-foot predator with that much bite force would be dangerous on any world. They live in your oceans? Speaker Nim asked. All over them, Ben said cheerfully. But they're not the biggest things in our seas. Blue whales can reach 100 feet long and weigh 200 tons. Of course, they just eat tiny sea creatures, so they're harmless to people. The image changed to show the massive blue whale. Even the Krixari looked impressed by its size. What about land predators? Zarek asked. Well, we used to have some really big ones. Saber-toothed cats with fangs as long as kitchen knives. Cave bears that weighed 1,500 pounds. Giant short-faced bears that were even bigger. Ben scrolled through pictures of extinct animals that looked like monsters. But humans lived alongside all of these. Sometimes we competed with them for the same food. Competed with them? Vex sounded confused. You mean your people hid from them? Not exactly, Ben said. Early humans were persistence hunters. We would chase animals for hours or even days until they got too tired to run anymore. Then we'd kill them with spears and tools we made. Jake noticed that the aliens were all staring at Ben. Is something wrong? Persistence hunting, Speaker Nim said slowly. You chased apex predators until they collapsed from exhaustion? Sometimes. Mostly we hunted large herbivores like mammoths. Those were huge elephants with long fur and curved tusks. They could weigh 6 tons. Ben showed them a picture of a mammoth. We drove whole herds of them off cliffs or trapped them in pits we dug. Captain Hayes looked around the circle of aliens. Their faces showed different emotions, but they all looked worried. Are we sharing too much information too quickly? We can slow down if you'd like. No, Zarek said. His voice sounded strange. Continue. Tell us about your world's climate. Earth has lots of different climates, Lisa said. We have deserts where the temperature can reach 130 degrees. We have polar regions where it drops to negative 80 degrees. Some areas get over 400 inches of rain per year. Other places might not see rain for years. She showed them pictures of each climate. Burning deserts with sand dunes hundreds of feet high. Frozen wastelands where the ground stayed solid ice all year. Jungles so thick that sunlight never reached the ground. Mountains so tall that the air was too thin to breathe. Humans live in all of these places, asked a Mare High representative. Pretty much everywhere except the deepest ocean trenches and the most active volcano craters, Jake said. Though we've sent people to explore both of those too. The aliens exchanged looks. The idea of one species living in such different environments seemed impossible to most of them. Dr. Carter cleared his throat. Should I mention the ice ages? Ice ages? Vex asked. Every 100,000 years or so, our planet gets much colder. Ice sheets cover most of the northern continents. They can be a mile thick. The ice ages last for thousands of years at a time. Ben showed them a map of Earth during the last ice age. Most of North America and Europe were covered in white. Humans survived all of them. We learned to make fire, build shelters, and create warm clothing. How many of these ice ages did your species survive? Speaker Nim asked. At least 4 major ones. Probably more, but our records don't go back that far. War Chief Zarek stood up slowly. His massive form cast a shadow over the humans. You are telling us that your people survived global climate disasters that lasted thousands of years, multiple times. Well, yes, Jake said, though I'm sure it wasn't pleasant. Our ancestors had to be pretty tough to make it through all that. What ended these ice ages? Zarek asked. Ben pushed his glasses up again. usually volcanic activity or asteroid impacts. The volcanoes would pump so much ash and gas into the atmosphere that it would change the climate. The asteroid impacts would do the same thing, but more suddenly. Asteroid impacts, Vex repeated. Your world has been hit by asteroids? Oh yes. The big one that killed the dinosaurs was about 65 million years ago. It was 6 miles wide and hit with the force of billions of nuclear bombs. It created a crater 93 miles across and threw so much debris into the atmosphere that it blocked out the sun for months. Lisa nodded. That's actually how mammals like our ancestors were able to take over. The dinosaurs couldn't survive the nuclear winter that followed, but small mammals could. The circle of aliens sat in complete silence. They were trying to understand how any species could survive on a world that regularly experienced global disasters. Jake looked around at all the quiet faces. Is there anything else you'd like to know about Earth? Zarek sat down heavily in his chair. For the first time in his life, the great Kriksari warrior was not sure what to say. The next morning, Hivemind Nexus 7 worked alone in the Council's research lab. The Chitauri scientist looked like a giant ant walking on 2 legs. Her compound eyes could see details that other species missed. Her forearms moved quickly. As she studied the data the humans had given them, the numbers made no sense. Earth's gravity was 40% higher than the galactic standard. Most aliens needed special suits to walk on worlds with gravity that strong. The humans acted like it was nothing. The atmospheric pressure was equally strange. Earth's air pushed down with 14.7 pounds of force on every square inch. That was enough to crush some of the more delicate species. The humans breathed it without thinking about it. But the real shock came when Nexus 7 started looking at Earth's biology data. She called Speaker Nim to come look at the information. This cannot be correct, Nim said as she read the files. Her blue fur stood up straight when she was worried. Right now she looked like she had been struck by lightning. I have checked the data 5 times, Nexus 7 said. The humans have not lied to us about anything. On the screen in front of them was a list of Earth's predators. Grizzly bears that could weigh 800 pounds and run 35 miles per hour. Saltwater crocodiles with bite forces of 16,000 pounds per square inch. African lions that hunted in groups and could take down animals 10 times their size. Look at this one. Nim pointed to an entry about polar bears. They can smell prey from 20 miles away. They hunt seals by waiting at breathing holes in the ice for hours. When the seal comes up for air, the bear grabs it with claws that are 4 inches long. Nexus 7 pulled up another file. The humans call this one a house cat. It says here that humans keep them as companions in their homes. The image showed a small furry animal with sharp claws and teeth. The data file explained that cats were nearly perfect hunters. They could see in almost complete darkness. They could hear sounds too high for human ears. Their reflexes were so fast, they could dodge attacks faster than most aliens could think. They live with these predators? Nim asked. According to this, humans keep over 600 million cats as pets. They also keep dogs, which are descended from wolves. Wolves are pack hunters that can bring down prey much larger than themselves. Speaker Nim sat down slowly. What about their plant life? Nexus 7's compound eyes focused on a different screen. Many of their plants are toxic. This one is called poison ivy. Just touching it causes painful rashes that last for weeks. This one is called a stinging nettle. It injects chemicals into skin that cause burning pain. The humans avoid these plants? No. Some humans eat the stinging nettles. They say they taste good when cooked properly. Nim's fur stood up even straighter. They eat poisonous plants for food? That is not the strangest part. Nexus 7 pulled up a new file. Look at what they call spices. Capsaicin is a chemical that plants make to stop animals from eating them. It causes burning pain in the mouth and throat. Humans love it. They add it to their food on purpose. The stronger the burning sensation, the more some humans enjoy it. The 2 scientists stared at the data in silence. A species that ate poison for pleasure was beyond their understanding. Dr. Ben Carter walked into the lab carrying a cup of coffee. Good morning. How's the research going? Nim turned to face the human scientist. Dr. Carter, we have questions about your data. Sure thing. What would you like to know? Nexus 7 pointed at her screen. You have creatures called box jellyfish in your oceans. The data says their venom can kill a human in minutes. How? Do you deal with such dangerous animals? Ben sipped his coffee and thought for a moment. Well, we mostly just stay out of the water where they live. If someone gets stung, we have medical treatments that can help. It's not really a big problem. Not a big problem? Neem's voice went up high. These creatures can kill your people. In minutes. So can lots of things. Lightning kills about 400 people a year. Bees kill more people than sharks do. Car accidents kill thousands. We just learn to be careful and get on with our lives. Ben noticed that both aliens were staring at him. Is something wrong? Dr. Carter, Nexus 7 said carefully, your people accept that hundreds of you will die each year from various dangers on your world. Well, we don't like it, but yes. Earth can be dangerous. We do our best to stay safe, but we can't eliminate every risk. That would be impossible. How do you sleep at night knowing such dangers exist? Nim asked. Ben laughed. The same way you sleep knowing your spaceship could have a hull breach or your life support could fail. Every day has some risk. We focus on the good things instead of worrying about all the bad things that might happen. He took another drink of coffee. Besides, most of Earth's dangers won't bother you if you don't bother them. Bears generally avoid humans. Sharks almost never attack people. Even venomous snakes prefer to hide rather than fight. Venomous snakes? Nexus 7's antennae twitched. Oh yeah, we have lots of those. Rattlesnakes, cobras, vipers, sea snakes. Most of them are pretty shy though. You're more likely to be struck by lightning than bitten by a venomous snake. Nim and Nexus 7 looked at each other. Lightning was another thing on their list of Earth's dangers. Dr. Carter, Nim said slowly, what do humans consider to be the most dangerous thing on your planet? Ben thought about this for a long time. Probably other humans, he said finally. We've fought wars that killed millions of people. We've invented weapons that could destroy our whole planet. We've polluted our air and water so badly that it took decades to clean up some areas. Your own species is your greatest threat? Yeah, but we're working on that. We've gotten much better at solving problems without fighting. Most humans today live in peace with their neighbors. We've learned that cooperation works better than conflict. The two alien scientists were quiet for a moment. Dr. Carter, Nexus 7 said, we need to ask you something important. Is Earth really as dangerous as this data suggests? Ben looked confused by the question. Dangerous compared to what? Compared to other worlds. Worlds where intelligent species evolved. I don't know. Earth is the only world we've ever lived on. To us, it's just home. Ben shrugged. I suppose some parts are more dangerous than others. I wouldn't want to live near an active volcano or in the middle of a desert. But millions of people do both of those things and they're fine. He finished his coffee and set the cup down. Why? Is Earth more dangerous than other worlds? Nim's fur was now standing straight up all over her body. Dr. Carter, Earth may be the most dangerous inhabited world we have ever encountered. Ben looked surprised. Really? That's interesting. I should tell the others. He paused. Does this mean we won't be accepted into the Galactic Council? We do not know yet, Nexus 7 said. We need to complete our analysis first. After Ben left, the two scientists looked at each other. What do we tell the Council? Nim asked. The truth, Nexus 7 replied. The humans come from a world so dangerous it makes Krexus look safe. But somehow, instead of becoming aggressive warriors like the Krexari, they became cooperative explorers who keep predators as pets and eat poison for fun. The Krexari will not believe this. Then we will have to prove it to them. War Chief Zarak stood in the Council's testing facility with his arms crossed over his massive chest. The room was designed to test the physical abilities of different species. It had machines that could create any environment found in the galaxy. This is foolish, he said to the other council members. These humans look weak, soft. They have no claws, no armor, no fangs. Whatever their world data says, they cannot be stronger than Krexari warriors. Ambassador Jake Sullivan walked into the testing room with 4 other humans. One of them was Commander Rick Stone, a man with gray hair and muscles that showed even under his regular clothes. He moved like someone who had trained his whole life, to be ready for anything. "Thank you for agreeing to these tests," Jake said to Zarek. "We understand you need to know what humans can do." "This will not take long," Zarek replied. "My warriors will demonstrate Krexari superiority. Then, we can end this discussion." Speaker Nim activated the recording devices. "We will test physical strength first, then endurance, then adaptability to different environments. All tests will be monitored by neutral systems to ensure accuracy." 3 Krexari warriors stepped forward. Each one was 8 feet tall and covered in thick scales. Their muscles bulged under their natural armor. They looked like living tanks built for war. Commander Stone stood next to them. He was barely 6 feet tall and looked small compared to the aliens, but he smiled at them like he was meeting new friends. "What would you like to start with?" Rick asked. Vex Thorak pointed to a machine that looked like a weightlifting device. "Grip strength. We will see how hard you can squeeze." The first Krexari warrior grabbed the machine's handles. The numbers on the display climbed quickly. 800 pounds per square inch, 1,200, 1,500. The warrior grunted with effort and pushed the number to 1,847 before letting go. "Impressive," Rick said. He walked over to the machine and wrapped his fingers around the handles. He did not look like he was trying very hard. The numbers climbed past 1,000, past 2,500, past 2,000. They stopped at 2,240 pounds per square inch. The Krexari warriors stared at the display. It had to be broken. "Machine error," Zarak declared. "Test something else." Vex led them to a section with heavy weights. "Lifting strength. How much can you pick up and carry?" The largest Krexari warrior grabbed a bar loaded with metal plates. The weight marker showed 800 pounds. He lifted it over his head with some effort and held it there for 10 seconds. Rick looked at the weights and picked up the bar. 800 pounds came up easily. He asked for more weight, 1,000 pounds. Still easy. Wanting 200 pounds. He lifted it with one smooth motion and held it steady. "This is impossible," Zarek said. "Humans are smaller than Krexari. You cannot be stronger." "Well, we might just be built differently," Rick said as he set the weight down gently. "What else would you like to try?" Dr. Susan Clark stepped forward for the environmental tests. She was a small woman with short brown hair who looked like she worked in an office, not a laboratory testing facility. "Temperature tolerance," announced Nexus 7. "We will start with cold." The testing chamber filled with freezing air. The temperature dropped quickly. -20 degrees, -40, -60. The Krexari warriors put on heavy coats and thermal protection. Dr. Clark wore only her normal clothes. At -80 degrees, the Krexari were shivering even in their protective gear. Susan stood in the middle of the chamber looking completely comfortable. She was not even shivering. "How are you not freezing?" asked Speaker Nim. "It's cold, but not too bad. This is about the same as winter in northern Alaska. People live there, year-round." Susan moved her arms and legs to show she was not stiff from the cold. "I grew up in Minnesota. We played outside in weather colder than this." The temperature test moved to heat. 120 degrees, 140 degrees, 160 degrees. The chamber became like an oven. Again, the Krexari needed special suits to survive. Susan took off her jacket and rolled up her sleeves. "This feels like summer in Death Valley," she said. "Hot, but manageable if you stay hydrated." The pressure test came next. The chamber simulated the crushing pressure of deep ocean depths. Most species would be squeezed to death in minutes. Susan sat in a chair and read a book while the pressure increased. She looked bored. "My ears popped a little when we started," she said. "But it's fine now. This is like being 200 feet underwater. Scuba divers go deeper than this for fun." Engineer Matt Davis handled the problem-solving tests. The aliens gave him broken alien technology that no one had been able to fix. Devices that used completely unknown principles of engineering. Matt looked at the first device for about 5 minutes. Then he went to the workshop and came back with some wire, a piece of metal, and what looked like a small spring. He took the alien device apart, moved some pieces around, added his improvised parts, and put it back together. The device turned on and worked perfectly. "How did you do that?" asked the device's original maker, a crystalline Etherian engineer. "The power coupling was misaligned and you had a feedback loop in the control circuit. I just rerouted the signal flow and added a damping element to smooth out the oscillations." Matt said this like he was explaining how to change a light bulb. Basic electronics, really. The aliens stared at him. The device had been broken for 3 years. Their best engineers could not fix it. This human solved the problem in 20 minutes using scrap metal. The medical tests were done by Dr. Amy Foster. The aliens wanted to understand how human bodies worked compared to other species. "Blood sample first," said the Merhai medical officer. "We need to analyze your immune system." Amy held out her arm for the needle. "Sure. Just so you know, human blood might be a little different from what you're used to." The analysis results appeared on the main screen. The alien doctors made sounds of confusion and worry. "Your blood contains antibodies for thousands of different diseases," the Merhai said. "Your immune system is fighting threats that do not exist. Well, they might not exist here, but they exist on Earth. We get exposed to lots of different germs and viruses throughout our lives. Our immune system learns to fight all of them." "What happens when humans encounter new diseases?" asked the Gaur medical officer. "Sometimes we get sick, sometimes we don't. It depends on how similar the new disease is to things we've seen before." Amy shrugged. "Usually our immune system figures it out pretty quickly." The final test was psychological. The aliens wanted to know how humans dealt with stress and fear. They put Jake Sullivan in a simulation that showed him terrible dangers: monsters attacking, his spaceship exploding, his friends dying. The simulation was designed to cause panic in any thinking creature. Jake watched it all with calm interest. His heart rate stayed normal. His breathing did not change. When something particularly dramatic happened on the screen, he would make comments like, "That's good special effects," or, "I wonder how they made that explosion look so real." When the simulation ended, the alien psychologist was confused. "You showed no fear response to any of the scenarios," she said. "Well, I knew it wasn't real," Jake replied. "And even if it had been real, panicking wouldn't help. Better to stay calm and think about solutions." "But you saw your friends die, your world destroyed. How can you not feel fear?" Jake thought about this. "I suppose I've learned that most problems have solutions if you look for them, and the problems that don't have solutions will happen whether you worry about them or not. So why waste energy being afraid?" War Chief Zarek sat in the observation room watching all these tests. Every result was recorded by neutral systems. There could be no mistake, no deception. The humans were stronger than Krixari warriors. They could survive in environments that would kill most aliens. They could solve problems that stumped the galaxy's best minds. They faced danger without fear and treated impossible situations like minor inconveniences. But the most disturbing thing was how they acted during all the tests. They were friendly, helpful. They thanked the aliens for the opportunity to participate. They asked questions about Krixari culture and seemed genuinely interested in the answers. These were not the behaviors of apex predators. These were not the actions of warriors from a death world. Warriors were supposed to be aggressive, territorial, and violent. The humans acted like teachers or explorers. They shared information freely. They offered to help fix problems they had, not created. They treated potential enemies like potential friends. Zarek had spent his whole life believing that strength meant dominance. Power meant conquest. The ability to survive meant the right to rule, but these humans had more strength, more power, and more survival ability than any Krexari, and they used it all to help others and explore the universe. For the first time in his life, the great war chief did not know what to think. The Galactic Council chamber was quieter than it had ever been. 12 different species sat in their circle, but no one spoke. The test results glowed on screens around the room. Every number, every measurement, every recording proved the same, impossible truth. Humans were apex predators from the most dangerous world anyone had ever discovered. But they acted nothing like apex predators were supposed to act. War Chief Zarek stood up slowly. His massive frame cast shadows across the floor, but for the first time, the other aliens did not seem afraid of him. They were all thinking about the humans. "I request a private meeting with the human delegation," Zarek said. His voice was quieter than usual. Ambassador Jake Sullivan nodded. "Of course. Where would you like to meet?" "The observation deck. Just you and me." 20 minutes later, the two leaders stood looking out at the stars through a huge window. Zarek's reflection showed a powerful warrior built for battle. Jake's reflection showed an ordinary man in a simple uniform. "I do not understand your people," Zarek said without looking at Jake. "What don't you understand?" "Everything." Zarek turned to face the human. "Your world is more dangerous than Krexus. Your people are stronger than Krexari warriors. You have survived disasters that would destroy entire civilizations. You should be the most feared species in the galaxy." Jake thought about this. "Why should we be feared?" "Because you have the power to destroy anyone who opposes you. Because you come from a world that creates perfect killers. Because that is what strength is for." "Is it?" Jake asked. "What has being the most feared species gotten your people?" Zarek was quiet for a long moment. "Respect, obedience, order. But do you have friends?" The question caught Zarek off guard. "Friends?" "People who choose to spend time with you because they enjoy your company. People who help you when you need help, not because they have to, but because they want to." Zarek thought about this. The truth was, other species obeyed the Krexari because they were afraid. They paid tribute because they had no choice. They followed Krexari laws because the alternative was war. "We do not need friends," Zarek said. "We have power." "Power is useful," Jake agreed. "But it's lonely, and it doesn't last forever. Someone stronger always comes along eventually." "Like you?" Jake shook his head. "We're not here to replace you or take your power. We're here because we want to learn about the galaxy and help make it better for everyone." "That makes no sense. Why would the strongest species serve the weak?" "Because we're all in this together. Earth taught us that cooperation works better than competition. When we work together, everyone benefits. When we fight each other, everyone loses." Zarek stared out at the stars. "On Krexus, only the strong survive. The weak are food for predators. Cooperation is weakness." "Maybe that's why Krexus stayed dangerous," Jake said gently. "On Earth, we learned to work together to survive the dangers. We shared knowledge about which plants were safe to eat. We warned each other about approaching storms. We took care of the sick and injured instead of leaving them to die. And this made you stronger? Much stronger. One human alone might die in a blizzard, but a group of humans working together can build shelters, make fire, and keep everyone alive until the storm passes." The war chief was quiet for a long time. Everything he had been taught about strength and survival was wrong. The most dangerous species in the galaxy had become powerful not through violence, but through cooperation. "What do you want from us?" Zarek asked finally. "We'd like to be your friends. Learn from your experiences. Share what we've learned. Maybe work together to explore parts of the galaxy that are too dangerous for any one species to handle alone." "You want to work with us? Even after we assumed you were weak?" Jake smiled. "Everyone makes mistakes when they meet someone new. The important thing is what happens next." The next day, the full Galactic Council met to vote on humanity's membership application. Speaker Nim stood up to present the committee's findings. "After extensive testing and analysis, we have reached our conclusions about the human species," she announced. "Earth is classified as a Class 5 death world. This is a new classification. It is more dangerous than any world previously discovered." Murmurs of surprise ran through the chamber. Class 5 was beyond anything in their current ecosystem. Humans demonstrate physical capabilities that exceed all known species. They show adaptability that allows them to survive in environments that would kill most galactic citizens. Their problem-solving abilities suggest intelligence levels at the highest end of our scales. More surprised sounds from the assembled aliens. However, Nim continued, humans also demonstrate cooperative behaviors, peaceful intentions, and a genuine desire to help other species. They pose no apparent threat to galactic security. She paused and looked around the chamber. It is the recommendation of this committee that humans be granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with special status as explorers and researchers for dangerous world investigations. The vote was unanimous. Even the Krexari delegation voted yes. After the ceremony, Dr. Lena Morrison found herself talking to Vex Thorak in the corridor outside the chamber. "I have a question for you," Vex said. "When you first heard us describe Deathworlds, why did you not tell us immediately that Earth was more dangerous than Krexus?" Lena thought about this. "I guess because it didn't seem that dangerous to us. Every world probably seems normal to the people who live there. But you knew your world had terrible storms and deadly predators." "Sure, but it also has beautiful sunsets and friendly dolphins and fields of flowers that smell amazing. We focus on the good parts and deal with the bad parts as they come up." Vex shook his head in amazement. "Humans are the strangest apex predators I have ever encountered." 6 months later, the joint Krexari human expedition landed on Zerion Prime, a world considered too dangerous for exploration. The planet had acid rain, poisonous atmosphere, and surface temperatures that could melt metal. War Chief Zarek watched. Commander Rick Stone set up their base camp. The human worked efficiently in his environmental suit, whistling a happy tune while he assembled equipment that could keep them alive on this nightmare world. "Are you actually enjoying this?" Zarek asked over their communication system. "It's challenging, but yeah, kind of fun. Reminds me of a camping trip I took in the Amazon rainforest. Hot, humid, everything trying to kill you. But the sunrises were incredible." Dr. Susan Clark's voice came through the radio. "Hey, you guys, need to see this. I found something amazing." They gathered around where Susan was kneeling next to a pool of liquid that definitely was not water. It was bright green and bubbling. "This is the most corrosive acid I've ever seen," she said with excitement in her voice. "But look at this." She pointed to small crystalline formations growing at the edge of the acid pool. "Life. Something is actually living in that acid and creating these beautiful crystal structures." Even through his helmet, Zarek could see that Susan was smiling with pure joy at the discovery. "You are happy to find life in a pool of deadly acid?" he asked. "Are you kidding? This is incredible. Life finding a way to exist in the most impossible conditions. This could teach us so much about biology and chemistry and maybe even how life started in the universe." Ambassador Jake's voice came through the radio from their base camp. "How's the exploration going out there?" "Fantastic," Rick replied. "Zarax, people are amazing at navigating dangerous terrain, and our scientists are finding incredible things. This partnership is working out great." Zarek looked around at the deadly world that surrounded them. Acid rain fell from toxic clouds. The ground was covered with substances that could dissolve metal. The air would kill any of them in seconds without protection. But the humans were treating it like the most exciting adventure of their lives. They had turned the most dangerous world anyone had ever explored into a cooperative research mission, and somehow they had made the Krexari part of their team instead of their enemies. "Jake," Zarek said into his radio. "Yes? Thank you for teaching us that the strongest predators can choose not to hunt. Thank you for being willing to learn something new. Now let's go discover what other impossible things this universe has to show us." As they worked together on the surface of Zerion Prime, the most dangerous world any of them had ever seen, Zarek realized something important. The humans had not conquered the Krexari through strength or fear. They had done something much more powerful. They had made the galaxy's most feared warriors want to be better than they were. And somehow that felt like the beginning of something wonderful.